up a dive. Feel the vibe, get ready to ignite. Untold stories in the airwaves, flying through the night. Experience voices, tales so bold. Streaming live, the truth unfolds. Untold Radio Network, where secrets come alive. New episodes daily, the mysteries thrive. Great guests, super chat, it's a wide variety. Share and subscribe, join the side where truth can't hide. Aliens in the attic, UFOs in the sky. Cryptids lurking, oh my, oh my. Ghosts in the hallway, whispering your name. The paranormal, the unexplained. Become a VIP, get the inside scoop. Unlock the mysteries, be part of the group. Live streaming stories, they're talking to you. Super chats buzzing, join the group. Untold Radio Network, the secrets come alive. New episodes daily, the mysteries thrive. Great guests, super chat, it's a wild ride. Share and subscribe, join the side where truth can hide. So if you've got the guts and you want to explore, tune into the Untold, it's what you're looking for. From aliens to ghosts and all that's unseen. Untold Radio Network, where the world's mysteries convene.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Spectrum here on the Untold Radio Network. I am your host, Barnaby Jones, and today we are pre-recorded. We are getting fired up for this weekend. Myself and my guest, Jeff from Badgerland Legends, he is here with us in studio. We are getting ready for a big event this weekend. We're going to tell you all about it in just a minute. Coming up, guys, we have all kinds of cool stuff on our website. If you want to show your support for all things cryptids, anomalies, and the paranormal society, you can wear it and show it and sport it. All that cool stuff is available at wisconsincaps.com, and click on shop our store or go to tpublic.com/user/Wisconsin Caps. We got sales all the time on there. Pick up some cool merchandise and show your support that way. You can also show your support by checking out our Patreon page, patreon.com/Wisconsin Caps. You can check out the entire first season of On the Trail of Undiscovered Beasts. It's all about Bigfooting in Wisconsin. And we got season 2 coming up shortly here. You can also find season 1 on Paraflix Paranormal Plus. Coming up this Friday night, My Haunted Hometown premiering on TNE. It is the episodes you've been waiting for. This Friday, it is Rick and Barbara, our team members from CAPS. Their haunted home is going to be featured on My Haunted Hometown. And next week, next Friday, is finally the episode you've been waiting for from Bean Snappers with myself and Keg. So that's going to be awesome. Make sure you guys check that out. You can check it out online, or if you're in Canada, you can get TNE, or you got to wait till spring when it debuts in the US. This weekend, guys, is Milwaukee Paracon. It is going to be, I got to pull up my stuff here. It is going to be at the Irish Cultural Heritage Festival, or Heritage Center. Sorry. Jeff is going to be there, as well as myself. Another member here on the Untold Radio Network, Dean Bertram, is going to be in attendance doing a presentation. Terry Cullen, one of my former guests as well, is going to be doing a presentation. I am going to be part of a panel with T. Allison and Sheetan talking about Wisconsin weirdness. Josh Hughes is going to be there, and there's also a free bingo for those of you that are interested. Going to be fun. You get free tickets to this event. Go over to MilwaukeeParacon.com and register for tickets. It is free, but you got to get your tickets there so that they know how many people are coming. So check that out. That's going to be this Saturday, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Coming up, guys, October 27th, we are doing our Halloween live investigation special. It is going to stream on our Wisconsin Caps Facebook page and on our YouTube. You want to check that out and watch along live. And coming up November 2nd, we are going to be at the Bell City Paracon here in Wisconsin. We are going to be at CryptidCon in Lexington, Kentucky, the weekend before Thanksgiving. And Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, the weekend after Thanksgiving, November 30th. And that's it, guys. We have a lot of other presentations coming up here in October at libraries throughout the state. So make sure you head on over to wisconsincaps.com and click on the public events page and check all that out. If you want to show your support for all things here on the Untold Radio Network, here's out.
Hey, Untold Radio Network fans. Want exclusive perks and to support our channel? Introducing our YouTube membership program with 3 amazing levels. Get loyalty badges that level up to different cryptids the longer you're a supporter. How cool is that? You'll also get access to custom Bigfoot emojis and priority in chat. Upgrade to Backstage Pass for exclusive wallpapers, photos, status updates, discounted books, and merchandise. Go all in with the producer level for everything mentioned plus member shoutouts. Ready for an enhanced experience? Join now, pick your membership level, and let's make this journey even more exciting together.
All right, guys, my guest on the show today is another fellow Wisconsinite. Jeff Finup is an author, researcher, explorer, and the creator of Badgerland Legends and the co-host of the Wisconsin Legends podcast. He is a citizen historian and folklorist, and he writes about people, places, and things that make Wisconsin legendary. His latest book, Wisconsin Legends for Kids, is available now, and you can find links for that in the show notes. Welcome to the show, Jeff Finup. Welcome, buddy. How's it going?
Thanks, Barnaby. Thanks for the wonderful introduction.
Absolutely. So you are all over Wisconsin. You got all kinds of cool legends and lore, and I mean this state is full of all that stuff.
Yes.
So
I'm a lifelong Wisconsinite, as you are, and I grew up in the central part of the state, and from a young age, heard things about, the Beast of Bray Road, or, whether it was the Geen lore. Geen was only about 20 minutes from where I grew up. When the Dahmer thing popped off in the early 90s, that was the talk of the town. And then just an interesting mix of everything from ghosts, UFOs, paranormal, supernatural, Bigfoot, Dogman, just a potpourri of stuff all across the Badgerland, and that really inspired what I'm doing today.
I think Wisconsin is very underappreciated in all of this stuff. You talk about like West Virginia being so weird, and cryptids and monsters and all the stuff out of there. You got the Flatwoods, you got Mothman and all that stuff. You got California being head of Bigfoot, and Washington, Oregon, but people really underestimate all the weird stuff going on in Wisconsin.
Yeah, they really do. Because when you think about it, you think of UFOs in the desert, or you think of the great apes up in the Pacific Northwest, or the spookiness of New England, and stretching in from West Virginia and Pennsylvania. But you don't really think about Wisconsin. But that's what I want to encourage people to do, is think about all the spookiness that we have right here in their backyard of Wisconsin.
Absolutely. I mean, we are home to 3 of the UFO capitals of the world, just to put a pin in that.
Yeah, we claim 3 of those right now, and we also have one of the greatest UFO sightings or encounters in the history with the Joe Simonton affair up in Eagle River. So it's hard to look past that. And then, not to discount Coral Lorenzen. She is the godmother of ufology. She actually started APRO right out of Wisconsin, which later morphed into MUFON. J. Allen Hynek, he's working out of Lake Geneva, looking at the heavens through the huge telescopic lens there in Williams Bay at the observatory. And then you have his links up into the Simonton affair in 1961 in Eagle River. So just a lot of overlooked weirdness here. And not to mention fellow Untold Radio Network Dean Bertram and his work with Ray Palmer right outside of Stevens Point, Amherst. There is so much spookiness. And we didn't even mention Chad Lewis.
Mm-hmm. Linda Godfrey.
Linda, Chad. Yeah. Lots of groundbreakers here.
Absolutely. Those names are, world famous as far as, the appearances on television shows and unsolved mysteries and everything like that. We have some big players here in Wisconsin. So
that's right.
Awesome. But we are here to chat about some of your stuff, man. You have a new book out, Wisconsin Legends for Kids. Now, so let's see here. We just talked about UFOs and dogmen and serial killers and stuff. And these are the kind of urban legends that are out there for Wisconsin, and, hitchhikers and people getting brutally slaughtered by goat men and stuff in Wisconsin.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. We got it all.
How do you turn this around? And,
all right. So
our urban legends for kids.
It was a challenge to dumb this down, but it was actually inspired by my daughter. So my daughter is now 7 years old, and just inside the book, you'll see a dedication to Isla and Ian, my son, who's 5 now. And it just says, "For Isla and Ian, may you find wonder wherever you are." So the basis for the book really started on our walks to school last year. My daughter was in 1st grade. We have a nice elementary school within walking distance of our neighborhood. It's practically in our neighborhood. So it's about a 10 to 15 minute walk from school. So my daughter, she's a bit of a chatterbox, and she's a very curious little girl. And she's always wondering, what daddy does and what his interests are. And I started telling her about Wisconsin legends. So each day on our walk, she'd ask me about another legend, and I regale her with some tale that I picked up and wrote about on Badgerland Legends. And she said, "Dad, I would really like if you put this in a book for me," because she was just learning to read. And I got to thinking about it, and I was like, "Yeah, Isla, I really need to put this in a book." So she had kept pestering me, and she was just expecting me to take some, sheets of loose leaf and maybe staple them together and put together a book. But, with the wonders of Amazon KDP printing and a lot of the graphic design technology that's available, I was able to, put a very thoughtful little book together for her and for everybody with children, probably from 5 to 12 to enjoy, with all of these legends from Wisconsin.
Very cool. That's awesome. That's an amazing story there. So what can we expect out of the book? Like, what are some of the tales that you've regaled us with in here?
Yeah, so where it all started for me as far as Wisconsin, we talked earlier at the top of the show about just kind of being enamored with the wonders of Wisconsin. Well, when I was about 8, I came home, or my mom came home with a dusty old book from the library. It was called Wisconsin Lore. And inside of it, it said Wisconsin contains, if the yarns are any indication, yarns being ghost stories or stories, there are more ghosts per square mile than any other state in the nation. And that really captivated me at a young age. So I started to collect them. And for Badgerland Legends, I've probably written 600 different legends directly from Wisconsin, whether it's, the people that inhabited our land, places that you can go and get a scare, or, different things like objects or relics or places. So I I put it all together in a book here, and I tried to keep it as family friendly and kid forward as possible because I want them to get a sense for their state at a young age and find kind of the wonder and the creepiness without too much scariness and not a lot of nightmares. So I've went through everything from these legendary mini mastodons that are down in Richland County. Wisconsin's oldest ghost story came upon the Ridgeway that connected a couple of Army forts back in the days before Wisconsin's founding, and it's called the Ridgeway Phantom or the Ridgeway Ghost. Pancakes from Outer Space that I mentioned earlier with Joe Simonton. Even something as sweet and fun as the ice cream sundae in its birthplace in Two Rivers, not too far from you, Barnaby. The Wood County Lion, a series of mysterious cryptid sightings in my home county of Wood County. Of course, we have the Bray Road Beast in there. Got to have him in there. The Burlington Vortex down in the southeast part of the state. A fun little place called Chicken Alley where people have had encounters with spectral chickens. Now, I'll ask you this, Barnaby. Why did the ghost chicken cross the road?
To haunt the other side.
To get to the other side.
So
the tale goes that Chicken Alley near Seymour, which is the home of the hamburger of all things, is said to be home to ghost chickens. That's right, a phantom fowl. Now, many motorists, they've come upon a flock of chickens clogging up the roadway. And the chickens are nearly see-through, like I said, spectral fowl. Now, if you approach or accidentally hit the chickens, they mysteriously vanished. And there's also a foolish dare that is associated with the crossroads there. And it said that if you stand in the middle of the intersection of Chicken Alley and Shady Road, an unseen voice will yell, "Get out of the road." So would you take this dare? What are you, chicken? And that's just a sample of one of the stories that I feature in, just give a little chuckle to the kids. Ghosts can be scary, but I wanted it to be fun and whimsical. And we even have a lake monster in there, the Rock Lake Terror, known as Rocky, in Lake Mills, not too far from Astalon, which is one of our greatest mound complexes in North America. And we can't have a Wisconsin Legends book without including the Hodag of Rhinelander.
Absolutely. Yeah, we actually our first episode was the Burlington Vortex. And
oh, really?
That's how our caps actually started. Was myself and Derek went down and investigated the Burlington Vortex, and had a Bigfoot encounter the very first night that we were there. And so we went back down, and that's how the whole caps team started, was investigating the Burlington Woods based on Mary Sutherland's work and Linda Godfrey and all that. And then after we decided to release that as an episode, we're like, well, wonder what else is out there. And we started looking into urban legends and locations like this as our next set of investigations. And one of the places we did was Chicken Alley.
Oh, nice.
And,
that's fun. Yeah.
It's a very sore spot for certain members of our team that did not have a good night that night. And they outright hated Chad Lewis for a very long time because my mom found the Chicken Alley in one of his books. And so Ethan on our team had a vendetta against Chad Lewis for making us go out and look for ghost chickens. So
yeah, I think that's where I heard about it first was I think it might have been the original book with Chad and Terry.
Yeah.
So that's such a fun one. And, unfortunately, I haven't been able to make it to all the places that I talk about in the book. So you can go explore them with me. So, pick up the book and then go and have a family road trip and, try that dare where you stand in the middle of the woods and go get lost in the Burlington Vortex. It's a public woods. And then go explore, some of the communities, see the local sites, kind of make a day trip or an adventure out of it. That's what I would highly recommend. I know it's kind of hectic having two young kids, but if you can kind of rope them in and, entice their spirit of adventure, I think it'll be fun for both of you or for the whole family.
Absolutely. We have gone down to, what the heck is the name of it? Mount Horeb to see all the trolls.
Yeah, the Trollway. That's not too far from me, where I'm just outside of Madison. So I was actually when we first had my daughter, we were only about 15 minutes away from Mount Horeb, and I have some friends down there. So it's always fun to go see the carvings. They have an art fair there annually, so then you get to see, all the artwork and all of that fun stuff, along with those cool carvings and troll statues, and just kind of the whimsy they try to invoke in just a little tiny town, and it's all for fun and for tourism. And it really gives you a place of, kind of belonging, or, civic pride, to have these things. Like, I think the first place I may have met Barnaby may have been at the Hodag Heritage Fest. And going up there and seeing, there's this mythological beast from, it's 120 years ago now, and still celebrating the creator of that beast today, and seeing the festivities that go along with that is it's just a lot of fun. And it's great for tourism. It's great for civic pride, and just fun for everybody.
That is an excellent example of, this newspaper article that spawned, this man to go out and try and save the dying lumber community that's there, and make it a tourist spot and draw attention to it. And, hoax or, misidentification or whatever spawned all this to begin with. Here we are, however many years in the future, looking back at it, and you cannot drive down a city block in that town without seeing a Hodag carved, or on a sign, or on a police car, fire engine, anything, the water tower. The city just has so much embraced that. And now with the Heritage Festival as well, now you have this huge event that's just based on this creature.
Yeah, and whenever anybody says Hodag in the middle of summer, they're probably referring to like the Country Music Festival, because that's one of the largest outdoor music festivals in the world there, and it's been going on since the 70s. So for guys like Carrie Bladern of the Logging Museum, Ben Brunell of the Hodag store, to kind of get together with the Chamber of Commerce and kind of revive that festival just to celebrate the legend of the beast is great. And what you alluded to earlier about Gene Shepard, who is like the father of the Hodag, he's the one who quote unquote captured the Hodag and really brought it to prevalence at the Oneida County Fair. It was kind of a cutover lumbering town, and it was on the verge of dying. But with a guy like Gene Shepard, he was the biggest promoter of what they called boosterism back in the day, trying to get people to either come to that town to start industry, or come to the Northwoods for tourism. And he's really the reason why Rhinelander is still on the map today as one of the premier Northwoods towns. Because when you think of the Northwoods of Wisconsin, you think Rhinelander is probably the first one that comes to mind, then Eagle River, and then Minocqua, of course. But without Gene Shepard there, Rhinelander may have just dried up, like many of the other lumber towns that were just cut over.
I mean, that's how the whole city started, with the lumber industry. It was a company town. And, as the lumber dwindled up there, it would have fallen off the map, because, who even knows if there would still be a town there after the lumbering industry kind of left. Yeah.
And the name of the town is Rhinelander, after one of the railroad executives. So part of the naming rights went to the executive of that line of railroad. So that's something that Gene and his contemporaries really wanted Rhinelander. They took a lot of pride in the place, and they wanted it to be a place for people to come to visit. They wanted a place for industry. And by getting a spur of the railroad there, coming through there, keeping the sawmills there and keeping industry there, really kept Rhinelander alive and preserved it for what it is today.
Absolutely. We've talked kind of about like the beasts and the weird woods and stuff like that, but what have you found, like going back in history, as some of the most haunted locations in Wisconsin?
Last year I actually got the opportunity with the Fox Valley Ghost Hunters to go up to Summerwind. Now that is the original Wisconsin haunted house. It's supposed to be Wisconsin's most haunted house. Now, Summerwind has been legendary. The first time I heard about it was actually a haunting, a show that appeared on Discovery Channel in the early 2000s. And it talked about a couple that moved in there with two of their children. And the father, he ended up almost being driven mad by the place. And there was a fire there, and the building has now been pretty much condemned and is nothing more than a foundation. And it's actually for sale. So if anybody wants to buy Summerwind, it's a beautiful lake property. But as far as the house goes, it's beyond repair. But I did get the opportunity to investigate it there. And there was some activity that came through some of the spirit boxes and some of the other investigating tools that we used. So very haunted still. So the funny story is I got there, and a group of the Fox Valley Ghost Hunters were already camping out there. And I had planned to pitch my tent there because it's a ways outside of Land O'Lakes. It's not too close. So I said, I'm away for the weekend. I'm by myself. I can save the money on a hotel, and I can tent out there. So I talked to the Ghost Hunters. They're like, well, you can either pitch your tent there by the foundation, and it was right next to an outhouse, and I could smell it when I walked up. So I'm like, oh, I want to be as far away from that as I can be. So where I parked my truck, there was kind of a flat spot. And I said, well, this looks like a good place. So I pitch my tent, I get everything set up, I get my air mattress blown up, and go to gather around the fire. And Craig from Fox Valley Ghost Hunters was given a little rundown about the history of the place and some of the paranormal experiences. And then he said something about Indian mounds and the Native American inhabitants there. And he's like, and if you look over there, right where Jeff's tent is, he's right on top of Indian Mound. And I was just like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? So I figured I already kind of committed the sin of pitching my tent on a burial mound. So I didn't really want to move it. And there was really no opportune place, seeing that the cars kind of filled it out. So ended up sleeping on top of the burial mound. Fortunately, I slept well enough, and then we got some rain showers in the middle of the night. So I didn't have any experiences or anything. Nothing tried to grab me from up out of the burial mound. Or we talk about the Beast of Bray Road. Actually, one of the first sightings of it is on top of a burial mound. So I wasn't visited by anything like that, fortunately. But it was quite the experience to visit Summerwind and then also sleep on top of a Indian Mound.
That is quite the story.
Yeah. Now, have you had an opportunity to get up to Summerwind?
I have not. No, I have not. Yeah. I know the Fox Valley Ghost Hunters, as you said, runs a lot of the tours up there, and we just haven't had a chance to. We have done the Sheboygan Asylum, which is another one that they do. Yeah,
I've had the opportunity to explore that twice, and very intrigued by that place. A lot of history there. Thankfully, it seems like everyone was treated fairly well during the most recent tenure at the place. So still a lot of history and a lot of activity in that building.
Yeah, very cool. I guess we can give a shout out. They are doing a haunted house there again this year.
All right.
For the first time, I guess, not just the haunted paranormal attraction, but they're actually doing a seasonal Halloween
and costumed scare.
Costumed haunted house there. I see.
Very fun.
I see some ads for that online. So if you guys are still looking for some spooky fun this Halloween, make sure you go check that out as well. So I have not been to it. Well, as of recording this, we're in September, but I have not been to it at this point, obviously, because I don't think it's open yet. But there you go. Very cool. Have you done any other investigations around Wisconsin?
I try to get, whenever I have a chance to. I got to a haunted screen printer in Sun Prairie, somebody that does my t-shirts. They are a screen printer and a clothing store inside of a retired, it's called Razor Sharp Screen Printing and Wisconsin Apparel Company, and it was a furniture and funeral home as well as a casket sale. So, they also did the embalming there. So I've gotten to explore and investigate that. Another spooky spot on the east coast of Wisconsin is the Dead by Dawn's Dead and Breakfast, which is super spooky. So talking about haunted attractions in the Sheboygan Asylum, doing that, Dead by Dawn's is kind of a warehouse for a retired couple that ran a haunted attraction business. So on top of having an extremely haunted property, they also have all of their haunted attraction props in there, which makes the extra creep factor there, but had plenty of activity there. And then one other place that I have on my bucket list to go to, Jericho Haunted Trinity, is now under new management, and they have invited me to come out there. So that's definitely on the fall tour schedule to check that place out, because it sounds like they've been having a lot of activity at Jericho.
Very cool. Yeah, the list of haunted attractions in Wisconsin just goes on and on. Not, I guess, not attractions, but haunted
places. Yeah,
paranormal places. Yeah, not the haunted houses and stuff, but yeah, the haunted attractions. Just there's so many places.
And just on that same topic of attractions or haunted attractions, the one place that I would really want to investigate, which is not known to be a haunted place, but it has to be, would have to be the House on the Rock. Now, they also do a haunted attraction in October, I believe. So be a little late for this coming out, but you might have 1 weekend or 2 weekends left to get in that when this episode drops. But that is, the place is creepy enough during the daytime. So when they have the lighting and the costume characters, it really comes to life. So I'd highly recommend checking that out. Now, if they did an actual paranormal investigation, I'd be all over that. And then not too far from that is Richland Center. There is an old warehouse that was designed and built by Frank Lloyd Wright. It is the only warehouse that he designed, and it was for a grocer in the area that it seemed like Frank Lloyd Wright may have owed him a favor or two. So he ended up designing this beautiful old Mayan style warehouse. And that is also supposed to be haunted. And they do have a haunted attraction there as well at the haunted warehouse in Richland Center.
Very cool.
And that's called the AD German Warehouse. So check out their haunted attraction as well. And it's always cool when they can do these haunted attractions inside places that are purportedly haunted. I think that just kind of adds an extra wrinkle.
When for those people that don't know, I used to own Misery Haunted House, which was a haunted house attraction. And I took over Hollow Chambers Haunted House as well. And those were both inside the Berlin Tannery. And if you watch our episodes, our second episode ever was all the footage that we shot when we used to run the haunted house there. And we have had tons of experiences. I had a tree shake violently and be thrown at me like a fake tree inside the tannery there. I've heard EVPs. We've had actors touched, walls moved and stuff, and they do a haunted house there still now. But we had a falling out with the manager, the owner there, and that's why I left. But they still do haunted house.
That's unfortunate, but yeah, that's a place that I've always wanted to check out, is the old tannery building. But it's almost like you can't throw a rock in Wisconsin without hitting a haunted building. So I would just recommend to anybody, look for haunted places near me and, see what there is. And a lot of times they have, either public ghost hunts, or you might know somebody that could let you in there to at least, poke around.
Yeah, I was going to say too, House on the Rock, we've written to do an investigation. We've already considered that. That was one of our ideal locations we wanted to investigate for a couple reasons. And we never heard back from them. So if anybody has a contact there that could get us in,
and definitely let me coast along on that one if you do get hooked up, because that would be definitely be a bucket list just because of the creep factor of the place. There's got to be something going on there. Nobody's actually lived there, but just to think about how many people have passed through there and kind of the imprints and energy that they left on that place, there has to be something.
Didn't was his name Alex Jordan? Didn't he live there? He lived in the house on the rock.
Alex Jordan, from what I've heard, and I might have to fact check this, but the legend is that he built it, but he only spent 1 or 2 nights there. Yeah. And not too far from the house on the rock is, of course, Taliesin, where Frank Lloyd Wright lived. And unfortunately, his lover, she met a tragic end there during an axe attack in, I think, 1915. So some say that his lover, her name was Mama. She still inhabits Taliesin, or the nearby place that where she took her last breaths at, called Tanyadiri, which is a house for Wright's sister at the time. So a lot of tragedy and a lot of spookiness in kind of the hills of the Driftless area in south central Wisconsin.
Wasn't it the kitchen cook at Taliesin? Wasn't there a fire there as well that he died in?
So the kitchen cook, he set the fire, and then he attacked Mama and her family with an axe, and the fire consumed. And then the assailant, his name was Carlton, he ended up drinking muriatic acid in a suicide attempt, a failed suicide attempt at that. And he could not talk after that. And I'm not sure if he was educated enough to write at the time. So we never really got to find out the motive for that attack. And he expired. And after that, Frank Lloyd Wright was heartbroken and ended up going to Japan, working on the Tokyo Hotel, and then kind of came back and rebuilt Taliesin 2, which had an electrical fire. And so we are now on Taliesin 3. So when you go visit Taliesin, it's actually his third iteration, the first 2 being consumed by one fire or another.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard some stories about that place being haunted for sure. So, wow.
Yeah, and if you want to check out the Wisconsin Legends podcast, I do with Mike Huberty from American Ghost Walks. We do a 2-parter on Frank Lloyd Wright, and it's really interesting the life that he led, his imprint on modern culture and modern architecture through a simple kind of farm kid that grew up in the Driftless area of Wisconsin, Spring Green, and his impact that he had on American culture and really worldwide culture. The reason we know of modern architecture is because of Frank Lloyd Wright. And speaking of the podcast, there's one other place, and it's not too far from you. It's also on the East Coast, Michigan coast of Wisconsin, is the Marable Caves Hotel. Have you had a chance to check that one out?
Mm-mm.
No,
I'm familiar with it, but no, I haven't been
yeah, and unfortunately, it is in disrepair now, and it's all gated off, so you can't get too close to it. But it is still a cool site. So check out pictures of the Marable Caves Hotel. Pop on the podcast, and it seems like nobody before us really has done kind of a deep dive into the history. It's really interesting, and it was a bottling plant and a health resort at the turn of the century in the backwoods of Wisconsin. So a really cool place. Unfortunately, it is in disrepair, but the old kind of haunting relics are still there. But in the 1970s and 80s, it was a tavern. And it sounds like there was a lot of fun to be had there. But unfortunately, I believe it was 2013, a very violent windstorm came and knocked down most of the remnants. And they really haven't had the desire to invest and rebuild it. But if you look at the pictures from back in the day of the Marable Caves Hotel, it was a sight to behold and a real place to be in that era.
It's definitely cool. I have seen pictures of it. One of the guys from Bean Snappers, one of the other bouncers and stuff, has pictures. He's been there when it was the hotel.
Oh,
Really
very cool.
I got to see some pretty cool pictures there. So awesome. What do you know about, we talk about some haunted locations like buildings and stuff, but what about some of the other urban legends like, the hitchhiking ghosts or the roadside killers and things like that?
Yeah, so me and Barnaby and Chad Lewis actually had a discussion on some of these, and the most well-known one is between Madison and Wisconsin Dells in Baraboo, and it's kind of about where the Ho Chunk Casino is now, and it's people pass it, and it looks like almost like a 60s hippie, kind of long hair. Some say he has a jean jacket or an army jacket on. And they say as you drive by, you'll see him. He'll look at you. And if you pass by, you'll go down the road a couple more miles and you'll see him again. And he's still hailing a ride. Now, I'm not sure what happens if you pick him up, if he disappears, kind of like the hitchhiker lore. There's so many different hitchhiker stories. But hearing that he reappears is kind of a neat wrinkle to that tale.
Interesting. Absolutely. Why do you think that, there's this trope of the hitchhiking ghost, the one that she died on her way to or after prom or something, and you pick her up and she has an article of clothing. Either she borrows it from you or she leaves it in your car, and then the guy goes to return it and finds out that it's like laying on her gravestone after she's passed away.
Or she gives you an address and you show up there. I just think it's a real romantic notion, and I think there's been a lot of tragedy, and there's another place in Stevens Point called Bloody Bride Bridge that has the same kind of story about a bride that died on her wedding night. Fortunately, nobody's been able to corroborate that story, so we hope that wasn't actually true. But it said that if you see this bloody bride on this bridge on Highway 66 in Stevens Point, that if you pick her up, she'll get into your car and then you'll take off and then eventually she'll disappear. I've heard this many times over the years, but I have not been able to confirm or actually talk to somebody who's experienced it. But it's just one more kind of log on that fire of the hitchhiking ghosts.
Well, that's another one that we tried to cover in our urban legends episode a while ago, and we went there and didn't get none. We're wondering though, as far as the bloody bride goes, if people are seeing, it's a bridge, right? So if her car went off the bridge and she died in the water, she might not be bloody, she might just be wet.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that we were wondering is, is to try and verify this happened. We're looking at it from the wrong viewpoint of, like she was murdered or something. But what if her car just went off the bridge and she appears bloody and wet looking, and she's just like a drowned bride or something? I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. And another wrinkle I've heard of that story, and maybe you've heard that one, is that she'll appear in the middle of the road, and a lot of times you'll make impact and you'll get out thinking that you hit her, and there's nobody there, and then sometimes she appears in your back seat. So that's one other wrinkle to kind of counter to that hitchhiker thing, that she just appears in your car, and that's kind of a crazy story in itself. But no, guys got nothing, huh? No,
we went out to the Red Bridge too, which you're supposed to park on the Red Bridge and she shows up in your back seat. And the scariest thing we found out there was like a silver dollar size spider on the bridge, and that was pretty scary.
That is pretty spooky. Yeah. Wisconsin, there are so many haunted roads and haunted bridges. There should be a book on it. So if anybody wants to do that, I'd definitely be a buyer on that, because we got Weary Road down there. Chad and I, we checked out the it was Dyer's Road Bridge, and there's supposed to be a black car that chases you after you cross the bridge. We didn't find anything. It was a bright and very peaceful day. We got to explore and catch up on a lot of things, so it was still cool to check it out. But unfortunately, didn't have any experience on that one.
I think that's a key point right there. What you said, Cliff Barrickman, Finding Bigfoot, says, all the time, if you go out in the woods to look for Bigfoot, you're going to have a bad day. If you go out in the woods to spend time with your friends, catch up, and, go camping and enjoy yourself, hang out with Chad, spend some time just catching up, exploring and stuff, you're going to have a good time and you're going to make memories, whether you have these experiences or whether you find anything paranormal or spooky or whatnot. So that's awesome.
And I think I said it was Dyer's Road. It's Dyerson Road.
Okay.
Kind of an interesting name. Never really looked up the etymology of that. Must have been somebody there, but Dyerson kind of has a spooky connotation to it. Maybe that was part of the legend.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We kind of touched on this in the beginning, and I want to come back to the whole UFO thing in Wisconsin. You talked about Joe Simonton, and for anybody that isn't aware of that story, you want to kind of give us just a quick recap of that?
Yeah. So it was a normal Tuesday. It was middle of April 1961. Joe Simonton, a lot of accounts, they call him a chicken farmer, but he was actually a plumber who had a Northwoods house on like a little homestead. So he had chickens on the property. Now, shortly before noon, a saucer-shaped craft hovered just above the ground on his rural Eagle River property. Now, after landing nearby, an occupant peeked his head out of the craft's hatch. Now, the occupant motioned to Simonton by holding up a metallic jug. Now, the plumber, he thought this was a signal that the occupant wanted water to fill the jug. Now, after he filled the jug, he returned it to the ship. A different occupant handed him 4 cakes. Now, these cakes were about a 1/4 inch thick, 3 or 4 inches in diameter. Now, the question is, did Joe Simonton just receive space pancakes? Now, it said that Joe tried one of these cakes and he said it tasted like cardboard. Now, after receiving countless media requests and a real buzz, Joe, he missed some time from work over this. And he says, if it happened again, I don't think I would tell anybody. So Joe Simonton, he may have engaged in the first intergalactic barter right there on his property in Eagle River. And there's been a lot of research done on the account. And from all accounts, it sounds like Joe Simonton believes what he saw. And it's just one of those interesting kind of encounters with, either UFOs or the supernatural that makes you scratch your head. Why would these people care about a plumber, Northwoods, middle of nowhere, and what did they want the water for, and why did they give him these cakes? Now, the cakes were actually tested, and they were shown to be just of regular composition, buckwheat, and some kind of oil binder. So it seemed like there was terrestrial origins. I know there's been some stories about them not containing a trace element of salt, which pretty much anything on Earth is going to have some kind of trace minerals of salt. And it said that they didn't have them, but that's been yet to be confirmed. But it's just one of those bizarre stories that makes you scratch your head. And when it comes from a guy who isn't looking for fame or fortune, and this was in 1961. So this was, I guess it was after Roswell, but it was before all the Roswell hubbub. It was before the X-Files. It was before Encounters of the Third Kind. Anything like that on TV or in media, for him to come forward and tell this story, it was just out of the ordinary. So it's one of those curious cases in ufology, and it happened right in the Northwoods of Wisconsin.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's newspaper articles backing all this up, confirming it, talking about it, that you can go and check out. It 100% did happen, and like you said, they did the DNA, or not the DNA, the testing of the pancakes and stuff. And yeah, it's weird,
It's a head scratcher. And I think that's why we like it, is because there's, it doesn't fit in any category. It's not your typical abduction experience. It's not just strange lights in the sky. It's not Travis Walton. It's something completely bizarre. and it's almost out of like fae lore, like the fairy lore. So which makes it kind of a crossover between kind of those two lines of thinking. Is kind of a bridge to that, and it's a very kind of John A. Keelian in that regard. So it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And you brought up another good point on there, how he wished that he never told about it, never opened his mouth. And I think, a lot of people always say, well, if all this stuff is happening, wouldn't you have more reports? Why don't people tell you about this? And right there is a perfect example of saying, look at all the attention he got from it. And he didn't want it. He didn't want the attention. He wasn't looking to be famous. He wasn't looking to have 1 million people at his house looking for pancakes,
I'm sure for many years, he had a number of people knock on his door, seeing if it was. I was able to locate the address of the place, and I'm not sure if it still is, but it was owned by one of the writers for a local Eagle River paper, and she was intrigued by the story. And when the property came for sale, she bought it, but I'm not sure if it's still owned by her. But next time I'm in the Northwoods, I might have to do a little scouting mission and maybe drop off my book and see if anybody would be willing to talk about what happened here in 1961.
Very cool. Yeah, awesome. So you brought up one other thing there, and I think we're gonna end on this topic because I don't know anything of this other than the Burlington Woods. Do you know of any other fairy lore stories from Wisconsin?
There is a lot of Native American kind of fairy lore, and there's one that comes from of all places, kind of the Lake of the Torches area, kind of is it Lac de Flambeau? Yeah. Yep, Lac de Flambeau, about these fairies on Strawberry Island. And they're supposed to be very protective of the island. There was a battle there between the Sioux and another tribe that's escaping me right now. But it said that these fairies are supposed to be protecting the dead of that island. And then one of my not really fairy lore, but maybe circus lore is the Haunchies of Haunchyville down in Muskego, just northwest of Wisconsin. Not fairies, but little people, which is a really cool one. And if you want to hear more about that, Wisconsin Legends podcast, and you'll actually get to hear Mike's account of his trip to Mystic Drive to Haunchyville and what he experienced there. It's a hilarious story. So give that one a spin.
I'm pretty sure I have heard that story. Yes. Yeah. Mike has a lot of interesting stories.
He's a really good storyteller. He's really good at telling them. So it's worth downloading that episode of the Wisconsin Legends podcast, Haunchyville, just to hear that.
Absolutely. I know his sister Allison as well has a whole presentation on fairy lore and stuff. So
she'd probably be a great resource to answer that question on the fairy lore. But yeah, like you said, the Burlington Woods with the wood nymphs or the little fairies or the pixies that have apparently appeared for Mary. One place that I want to get down to maybe this fall. I have a friend not too far from there, and we want to check out the Burlington Woods. And then there's a lot of schismatic Mormonism there. After was it Joseph Smith? After he was assassinated by a group of his followers, it wasn't sure which way Mormonism was going to take. It was either going to be the Brigham Young sect of Mormonism or this Strang sect, which his name was James Strang. So he went north to Burlington and then eventually to Beaver Island in Michigan and declared himself the King of America. So they call him the Mormon King. And they still have a Strangite a little chapel to the Strangites right there in Burlington, and the place where he died. And I believe his grave is there as well as a place called the Hill of Promise, where just like Joseph Smith, he didn't copy this at all. He didn't rip this one off, but he also found some, I believe there were tin plates right there in Burlington in a little place called Vorey. So that one is on the list of expeditions, and maybe me and Barnaby need to get together and do a Caps episode on the Burlington Woods, maybe a return to Burlington Woods, and then also go look for some Mormon treasures.
Absolutely. Yeah, you let me know. I can give you a whole tour of Burlington Woods.
That'd
Our
be
next
great.
our episode that came out in September, the end of September, is our 5-year anniversary of investigating the Burlington Woods, and our December episode is also Burlington Vortex. So
Right.
the next 2 episodes on our YouTube are from the Burlington Woods. So
All right, I'm gonna have to look at those back episodes and get prepared for the release of the 5-year anniversary.
it's very cool. I just realized too that this episode will air Thursday of the week that Allison Jornlin is my guest on Monday. So for those of you that are actually watching these in time, Allison should have been on my guest on Monday.
Yeah,
So-
and if you want to see both me and Allison in person when this drops, it will be the weekend following the Saturday at the Irish Cultural Heritage Center. I'll be giving a presentation on the Mad City murders, and that was a series of murders in the late 60s and early 70s that are still unsolved to this day. So check me out there. Come say hi. I'll have a booth there. Barnaby and Allison will be on a panel there. Mike Huberty, my co-host on the Wisconsin Legends podcast, he's the director of the Milwaukee Paracon. And the best thing is it's free. All you got to do is sign up, grab a virtual ticket, and come check it out. Lots of great presentations. Dean Bertram, also on the Untold Radio Network, will be giving his documentary short on the Shaver mysteries, along with a talk on that subject, which also has to do with Wisconsin, in the center part of the state. Ray Palmer and Richard Shaver lived there for a while. So just so much more. I've been doing this almost 5 years, just collecting and writing about these stories in Wisconsin, and I'm still finding new stuff. So always something cool out there. Yeah, feel free to stop by and say hi. Barnaby and Ma will be there.
Yep.
And it should be a great time.
Absolutely. And again, there are links in our show notes for that, as well as your book, The Wisconsin Legends for Kids.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much for letting me talk about that.
Absolutely, man. It's been a pleasure. I mean, there's so much stuff. Like I said, I've lived here my whole life. You've lived here your whole life. And every day I learn more about this state and how weird it is. There are so many paranormal ghost stories, creatures from Bigfoot to Hodag, Beast of Bray Road, goat men. Even the Mothman has made some appearances down in the southern part of the state, and over on the Minnesota side as well. There's the stories of Mothman Mountain over there. So yeah.
Yep, in Trempealeau County, and yep, right on the edge of Minnesota there, not too far from La Crosse. There's supposed to be kind of either some kind of UFO base there, and then also some Mothman style lore right in that area. And I think Nick Redfern actually went out there and visited and wrote about that. So always something crazy, no matter which part of the state you are in.
Absolutely. So great time. So awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I mean, this has been a blast. It's fun to catch up and just, like I said, every time you hear about Wisconsin, you learn something new, and there's always something more to going on here.
That's right.
Weird, wonderful state.
Yeah. And feel free to connect with me at Badgerland Legends on Instagram or Facebook. Drop me a DM or shoot me an email, jeff@badgerlandlegends.com. Tell me, what you found or where you want to go, or something cool that you've seen. I look forward to connecting with everybody.
Or maybe some legends that you haven't heard of. People know
that, I'm always looking for that next legend. And I think that's why we do this, because there's always going to be one more.
Very cool. And you can find Badgerland Legends on all the podcast platforms.
It's Wisconsin Legends Podcast.
I'm sorry.
No
Badgerland
problem.
Legends is your Facebook. So.
Yep, and Instagram. Yep.
In the show notes, we got that in there for you.
All right. Thanks, Barnaby.
Not a problem, man. Well, I look forward to seeing you this weekend, or I guess in about a month. So,
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Milwaukee's always a fun time. Always looking forward to that show. It's kind of the kickoff and then kind of the close of the Halloween season.
It is.
Yeah.
It's the Cultural Heritage Center is a really cool place. It's a really cool venue, and there's vendors as well and all kinds of stuff there. So,
and some ghost stories. So if you see Mike at there, say, "Hey, is this place haunted?" And he'll tell you. He might share one or two with you.
Probably half of Milwaukee's haunted, to be honest.
Yep. Green Bay is the oldest city, but Milwaukee is right behind it, and there's plenty of history there.
Absolutely, man. All right. Well, you take care, and thank you so much for coming on this week. I look forward to seeing you this weekend or in a month in reality. So,
all right. Thanks, Barnaby. It's been fun.
Absolutely. You take care, man. Talk to you later. All right, guys, that is our show for this week. We have a lot of fun here. And if you get a chance, come on out to Milwaukee Paracon. It's going to be a great event. The link for the tickets, they're free, but you do need to register for them. So the link is in the show notes, as well as you can get a copy of Jeff's new book in the show notes, and Badgerland Legends is in the show notes as well. Go on and check all those out for all your more legendary spookiness. If you have any other legends to share with Jeff, I'm sure he would appreciate it. And if you have any creature sightings, head on over to Wisconsin Caps and throw them in our report your encounter section, because I want to go chase those. So if you got any of that stuff, head on over and check it out. But until next time, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe on all of your favorite podcast platforms. Leave a review because it really helps us out. And head on over to Patreon for more. But until next time, guys, remember, we're all part of the paranormal spectrum. Take care. Be well. I'll see you next week.